The sound of metal screaming against wet asphalt cut through the morning air like a death rattle. The black sedan lost control, flipping twice before slamming into the center divider less than 100 feet ahead. Daniel Park's hands tightened on the steering wheel of his battered Ford pickup, knuckles white against worn leather. 7 cars ahead of him had already passed by. Some slowed. Most didn't. Daniel could have kept driving. He was already 20 minutes late for a rush job in Folsom, a kitchen cabinet repair that would pay enough to cover Lily's piano lessons for the month. His daughter's recital started in 3 hours. He'd promised her he'd be there, front row, like always. But then he saw the smoke, and he stopped. He didn't know the woman trapped inside that crumpled vehicle was worth over $3 billion. He didn't know she sat on the boards of 5 Fortune 500 companies. He didn't know her decisions shaped the digital lives of millions. He only knew one thing. Through the shattered windshield, past the steam and the twisted metal, he could hear her whispering, "Please, don't die." And he knew if he drove away, she would. 6 hours earlier, Daniel Park was doing single dad math. He stood in the narrow kitchen of their Sacramento rental, staring at 3 numbers written on a receipt. $340, $275, and the number circled in red, $89.47. His checking account balance. "Daddy, can you braid my hair like Emily's mom does?" Lily sat at the breakfast table, still in her pajamas, her sheet music spread across the placemat next to a bowl of cereal. 7 years old, all elbows and knees and questions he didn't always have answers for. "Baby, I barely know how to do a ponytail," Daniel said, crouching beside her chair. "But I can make it neat." "That work?" She nodded, and he carefully gathered her dark hair, muscle memory from 1,000 mornings just like this one. His phone buzzed on the counter. Marcus Chen's name lit up the screen. "This is Park. Danny, I got a situation." Marcus owned a property management company in Folsom. Good guy, steady work. Water leak destroyed Mrs. Patterson's kitchen cabinets. She's got family flying in tomorrow. Can you fix it today? Daniel glanced at the calendar on the fridge. Lily's recital was marked in red Sharpie. 11 a.m. Piano recital. Don't forget. Marcus, today's rough. My daughter. Double rate. Cash. $340. Daniel's eyes moved from the calendar to the receipt. $340. Exactly what he needed to keep the lights on and pay for next month's lessons. "I'll be there by 9, he said. Lily's spoon stopped halfway to her mouth. "But Daddy, you promised." "I know, sweetheart, I know." He knelt in front of her, meeting her eyes, her mother's eyes. "I'll be done by 10:30. The job's only 30 minutes away. I'll make it. I promise." She studied his face with that too serious expression she got sometimes, the one that made his chest ache because it meant she was learning to doubt the world too young. "Okay," she finally said. "But you have to sit in the front row." "Front row center," he said, kissing her forehead. "Wouldn't miss it." 20 minutes later, after dropping Lily at his neighbor's apartment, Daniel was heading east on Highway 50, his toolbox rattling in the truck bed, sawdust still caught in the creases of his flannel shirt from yesterday's job. The morning was overcast, threatening rain. Traffic moved in fits and starts, typical Friday rush hour bleeding into the valley. Daniel kept one eye on the clock. If he worked fast, really fast, he could finish by 10:15, hit the road by 10:20, make it back to Sacramento by 11, maybe even 10:50 if traffic cooperated. Single dad math. Every minute calculated, every dollar counted. He turned up the radio and merged into the center lane. At 8:47 a.m., everything changed. Daniel saw it happen in real time. The black sedan, 2 cars ahead in the left lane, drifted right. Not suddenly, almost lazily, as if the driver had fallen asleep or reached for something on the passenger seat. The silver SUV next to it honked. Long, angry blast. The sedan overcorrected. Hard left. Too hard. Then, physics took over. The rear tires lost traction on the damp asphalt. The vehicle spun once, twice, a horrible ballet of momentum and metal. The sound was like thunder compressed into 3 seconds, the shriek of tires, the crunch of impact as it clipped the guardrail, the final explosive crash as it rolled onto its side and slammed into the concrete center divider. Steam erupted from the hood. The driver's side window was a spider's web of cracks. Daniel's foot hit the brake instinctively. His truck shuddered to a stop on the shoulder, 50 yards behind the wreck. Ahead, traffic slowed. Brake lights flared red in the drizzle. Then, one by one, cars began to move again. The silver SUV drove past. So did the white Honda behind it. A Tesla, a delivery van, a landscaping truck with a trailer full of mowers. 7 vehicles total. Some slowed down to look. Most barely paused. Daniel sat there, hands still gripping the wheel, watching them go. His mind was already calculating. If he called 911 and left, he'd still make it. Someone else would stop eventually. Someone always did. But what if they didn't? He looked at the clock. 8:49 a.m. Then he looked at the wreck. Smoke was starting to pour from underneath the crumpled hood, thin and gray at first, but thickening fast. Daniel grabbed his phone, threw the truck into park, and opened his door. His boots hit the asphalt as he pressed 911. 911. What's your emergency? Car accident on Highway 50 eastbound, mile marker 73, Daniel said, already jogging toward the wreck. Single vehicle rollover. 1 visible occupant. Possible fuel leak. Sir, are you safe? Please stay clear of the vehicle. I can see someone inside, Daniel said. Send fire and ambulance. Now. He ended the call. Up close, the damage was worse. The sedan had landed on its driver's side. The roof partially caved in. The front end accordioned against the divider. Safety glass glittered across the asphalt like scattered diamonds. And then he smelled it. Gasoline. Sharp and chemical, pooling beneath the wreck. Hey! Daniel shouted, dropping to his knees beside the shattered passenger window. Can you hear me? No response. He pulled off his flannel, wrapped it around his fist, and punched out the remaining glass. Carefully, he reached inside. That's when he saw her. She was maybe 35, 40 at most. Dark hair, matted with blood. Her face pressed against the deflated airbag, one arm pinned beneath her body at an angle that made Daniel's stomach turn. But she was breathing. Hey, Daniel said, louder this time. Stay with me. Help's coming. Her eyes opened, unfocused at first, then locking onto his face with sudden, desperate intensity. Please. Her voice was barely a whisper, thick with pain. Please don't die. For a second, Daniel thought she was talking to him. Then he realized she wasn't looking at him. She was looking past him. Through him. At something only she could see. Ma'am, you're going to be okay, Daniel said, forcing his voice steady. What's your name? Evelyn. She coughed, and fresh blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. My daughter. I have a daughter. Daniel's chest tightened. How old? 9. Tears cut clean lines through the blood on her face. She's waiting for me. I promised. I promised I'd be there. The smoke was getting thicker. Daniel could feel heat radiating from the engine block. Listen to me, Evelyn. I'm going to get you out. But I need you to stay awake. Can you do that? The briefcase, she said suddenly, her good hand clawing at the crushed dashboard. In the back, I need. We'll worry about that later. Right now, you don't understand. Her eyes cleared, and for just a moment, the pain receded enough for Daniel to see the person beneath it. Someone used to being listened to. Someone used to being in control. Everything I've built, it's all in that case. Please. Daniel looked from her to the smoke billowing from the hood. Then he looked at the back seat. The rear passenger door was jammed against the divider. The driver's side was pinned to the ground. but the other rear door crumpled but potentially accessible that might work. "I'll get it," he said. "But first, I'm getting you out." Daniel ran back to his truck and grabbed the crowbar from his toolbox. His hands were shaking. Not from fear he'd find time for that later, but from adrenaline. Pure and electric. He'd done emergency first aid training 5 years ago when Lily was a toddler, one of those weekend courses at the community center. He remembered the basics. Check for breathing, control bleeding, stabilize the spine. But they never covered extract someone from a burning car on a highway. He wedged the crowbar into the gap where the rear passenger door had buckled. The metal groaned. He put his weight into it, feeling the leverage, hearing the frame start to give. The door swung open 6 inches, then a foot. Enough. Daniel threw himself into the back seat. The interior reeked of gasoline and burnt rubber. The briefcase Evelyn mentioned was wedged between the front seats and the floor. Black leather stamped with silver letters. E. Z. He grabbed it, along with a tablet computer that had somehow survived intact. Back outside, the smoke had turned dark. Daniel could hear the crackling, now a sound he'd only heard in movies, but instantly recognized. Fire. He dropped the briefcase and tablet on the shoulder and returned to the passenger side. Evelyn's eyes had closed again. "Evelyn!" Daniel reached through the window, gripping her shoulder. "Stay with me. We're almost out." Her eyes fluttered open. "My arm. I know. This is going to hurt." Daniel assessed the situation with a carpenter's eye. The driver's seat had collapsed inward, pinning her left arm against the center console. He couldn't pull her straight out without causing more damage. He needed to lift the dash. The crowbar wouldn't work too much weight. Wrong angle. But the jack in his truck might. If he could position it right, create enough space. "I'll be right back," he told Evelyn. 30 seconds. "Count to 30 with me, okay?" She nodded, weakly. 1. Daniel sprinted to his truck, grabbed the hydraulic jack, and raced back. He could feel the heat now, waves of it washing over him as he positioned the jack against the frame and started pumping. 28. 29. The dashboard lifted. Half an inch. An inch. 30. Evelyn's arm came free. She screamed a raw, animal sound that cut through the morning. But Daniel was already pulling her through the passenger window, careful with her injured arm, supporting her head. They made it 15 feet before the first flame appeared, licking up through the gap between the hood and windshield. "I've got you," Daniel said, lowering her onto the grass median. "You're safe." But Evelyn wasn't looking at him. She was looking at her car, at the smoke, at the flames starting to consume the front end. "The briefcase," she said. "You got it?" Daniel glanced over at where he'd left it, safe on the shoulder. "I got it." She closed her eyes. Not unconscious, just relief. Profound and total. In the distance, sirens began to wail. The fire truck arrived first, followed by an ambulance and 2 highway patrol cars. Paramedics swarmed Evelyn immediately. Vitals, IV line, backboard. Daniel stepped away, giving them room, his hands still trembling from adrenaline crash. A firefighter in full gear approached him. "You pull her out?" "Yeah." "Anyone else in the vehicle?" "Just her." The firefighter nodded, then jogged toward the wreck, where his team was already deploying the hose. The fire had spread to the interior now, flames visible through every window. Daniel watched, numb and distant, as a highway patrol officer appeared at his elbow. "Sir, I need to get a statement." "You witnessed the accident?" "I was behind her," Daniel said, not taking his eyes off the wreck. "She lost control, spun out, hit the divider. Did you see what caused it?" "No." "Could have been anything. Phone, fatigue, medical emergency." He turned to the officer. "She mentioned her daughter. Someone needs to call her family. We'll take care of it." The officer was writing in a small notebook. "I need your information, name, address, contact number." Daniel rattled it off automatically, his mind elsewhere. The clock in his head, the one that had been counting every minute since he left home, was screaming at him. 9:23 a.m. The job in Folsom was gone. No way he could make it now, which meant no $340. Which meant his phone buzzed. Text from his neighbor, Rhonda. Lily keeps asking if you're coming. What should I tell her? Daniel typed back. Tell her I'll be there. Front row. The officer was still talking. Insurance information, and if you need medical attention yourself, I'm fine, Daniel said. Can I go? Soon. The investigator needs to. A shout from the ambulance cut him off. Daniel turned to see Evelyn, now strapped to a gurney, fighting against the paramedic trying to secure her good arm. Even from 30 feet away, he could hear her. The briefcase. Where is it? Where's my... Ma'am, please calm down. You don't understand. That briefcase. Daniel jogged over. Evelyn's eyes found his immediately. Did you get it? She asked. The case and the tablet? They're right here. Daniel picked them up from where the paramedics had set them aside and held them up. Safe. Evelyn's entire body relaxed. Thank God. Thank God. The paramedic gave Daniel a grateful look. We need to transport her now. As they loaded the gurney, Evelyn reached out with her good hand and caught Daniel's wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. You saved my life, she said. What's your name? Daniel Park. Daniel Park. She repeated it like she was committing it to memory. Then she was gone. The ambulance pulling away with lights flashing but no siren. Daniel stood there on the shoulder of Highway 50, covered in grass stains and blood that wasn't his, holding a briefcase worth more than his truck. The highway patrol officer approached again. We can store that for her. Evidence and personal effects. Daniel looked down at the briefcase. Everything I've built, she'd said. He handed it over. One more thing, the officer said, consulting his notes. The vehicle is registered to Evelyn Zhao. That name mean anything to you? No, Daniel said honestly. Should it? The officer shrugged. She's listed with a business address in Palo Alto, probably just another Silicon Valley commuter. Daniel nodded, suddenly exhausted. Am I free to go? Yeah. We'll be in touch if we need anything else. Daniel walked back to his truck, climbed in, and sat there for a long moment, his hands on the wheel, staring at nothing. Then he checked his phone. 9:41 a.m. Lily's recital started in an hour and 19 minutes. If he left now, if traffic cooperated, if nothing else went wrong, he might just make it. Daniel started the engine and pulled back onto the highway. Daniel Park walked into Sacramento Community Center at 10:58 a.m. His flannel shirt was gone ruined, left on the side of Highway 50. He wore just a t-shirt now, grass-stained and damp from the drizzle. His jeans were torn at the knee. There was a smear of something dark on his forearm that might have been grease or might have been blood. He looked like he'd been in a fight, but he was there. The recital hall was small, maybe 100 seats arranged in neat rows facing a modest stage. Parents and grandparents filled most of the chairs, whispering to each other as the student musicians tuned instruments and shuffled sheet music backstage. Daniel spotted Rhonda in the third row and waved. She'd brought Lily early, making sure she had time to warm up, to calm her nerves. Daniel owed her for that. He owed her for a lot of things. He took his seat in the front row, center section, just as the lights dimmed. Lily was the seventh performer. When her name was called Lily Park, performing Claire de Lune, she walked onto the stage in the blue dress Daniel had ironed that morning. Her hair neat despite his amateur ponytail work, her face serious with concentration. She sat at the piano bench, adjusted her posture the way her teacher had shown her, and placed her small hands on the keys. Then, just before she started, she looked out into the audience. Their eyes met. Daniel smiled, gave her a tiny nod. She smiled back, and she played. It wasn't perfect. There were mistakes, missed notes in the middle section, a tempo hiccup near the end, but Daniel didn't hear them. He only heard his daughter, this small person he was raising alone, finding beauty in black and white keys. When she finished, he clapped louder than anyone else in the room. Afterward, in the lobby, Lily ran to him and threw her arms around his waist. "You came. You really came. I promised, didn't I?" He hugged her tight, breathing in the strawberry scent of her shampoo. "You smell like outside," she said, wrinkling her nose. "Long morning," Daniel said. "But I made it. That's what matters." Rhonda appeared beside them, eyebrows raised. "Danny, what happened to you? You look like you wrestled a bear." "Stopped to help someone," he said. "Car accident. Everyone's okay." "Jesus." Rhonda studied his face. "You sure you're all right?" "Yeah." He looked down at Lily. "Yeah, I'm good." They left the community center together, Lily chattering about her performance, about how nervous she'd been, about how Emily had played a Chopin piece that was super hard and only made one mistake. Daniel listened, nodded, made the appropriate sounds of encouragement and praise. But part of his mind was still on Highway 50, still hearing that whisper, "Please, don't die." Still wondering if Evelyn Zhao, whoever she was, had made it to see her own daughter. 3 days later, someone knocked on Daniel's door at 6:30 p.m. He was in the middle of making dinner boxed mac and cheese, the fancy kind with the powdered cheese that Lily liked when the sound echoed through their small apartment. "Lily, can you stir this?" he said, handing her the wooden spoon. "Don't let it stick." He opened the door to find a man in a charcoal suit standing in the hallway. Late 40s, perfectly groomed, the kind of person who looked like they'd never ridden public transportation in their life. "Daniel Park?" the man said. "Yeah?" The man extended his hand. "Michael Huang. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Jiaotech Industries. May I come in?" Daniel stared at the offered hand, then at the man's face, trying to process the words. Jiaotech Industries. He'd heard of them vaguely. Something to do with software? Cybersecurity? "What's this about?" Daniel asked, not taking the hand. "Evelyn Zhao," Michael said simply. "You saved her life on Friday." The words landed like a physical weight. Daniel became aware, suddenly, of how his apartment must look to this man. The cramped living room, the second-hand furniture, the pile of Lily's drawings on the coffee table, the smell of cheap pasta. "Is she okay?" Daniel asked. "Recovering. Broken arm, cracked ribs, concussion. But alive, thanks to you." Michael's expression softened slightly. "May I come in? This won't take long, but it's not a conversation for a hallway." Daniel stepped aside. Michael entered, taking in the space with a quick, efficient scan, not judgmental, just observant, professional. "Daddy, the cheese is sticking," Lily called from the kitchen. "1 second, baby." Daniel turned to Michael. "Give me a minute." He finished making dinner, got Lily set up at the table with her food and a glass of milk, then returned to the living room where Michael waited. "You said this is about Evelyn Zhao," Daniel said, keeping his voice low. "I don't understand what you're doing here. I gave a statement to the police. I didn't stick around after that." "I know," Michael said. "That's actually why I'm here. Miss Zhao has been trying to find you." "Find me? Why?" Michael reached into his jacket and pulled out a slim tablet, the same one Daniel had retrieved from the wreck. "Because of this, and because of what this contains." He tapped the screen. A logo appeared. Jiaotech Industries, rendered in sleek silver. "Miss Zhao is not just any executive," Michael continued. "She's the founder and CEO of Zhao Tech. We develop cybersecurity infrastructure for financial institutions, hospitals, government agencies. Our systems protect the personal data of over 40 million people worldwide." Daniel's stomach dropped. "I don't understand what that has to do with me. The briefcase you recovered and this tablet, they contain encrypted access credentials to our core security protocols. If they had fallen into the wrong hands, if someone had recovered them before emergency services arrived." Michael paused, letting the implication hang. It would have been catastrophic, not just for our company, but for every client who trusts us with their data. But I gave them to the police, Daniel said. I didn't even look inside the briefcase. We know. That's the point. Michael set the tablet down on the coffee table. 7 cars passed that accident before you stopped. 7 opportunities for someone to pull over, to help themselves while appearing to help Evelyn. But you didn't just stop. You went back into danger to retrieve her belongings. You asked for nothing in return. You didn't even leave your contact information with the hospital. I had somewhere to be, Daniel said. My daughter's recital. Michael smiled a real smile, not the professional one from before. Miss Zhao mentioned that. She says you told her you understood what it meant to make promises to your child. From the kitchen, Lily called out, "Daddy, I'm done. Can I watch cartoons?" 30 minutes, Daniel called back. Then homework. Michael waited until the TV sounds began before continuing. Miss Zhao wants to thank you properly. She's prepared to offer you a substantial reward. Enough to— No, Daniel said. Michael blinked. I'm sorry? No, Daniel repeated. I don't want money. I don't want a reward. Mr. Park. You don't understand the magnitude. I understand. Fine. Daniel stood up. I stopped because someone needed help. That's it. I'm not looking to cash in on doing the right thing. This isn't about cashing in, Michael said carefully. This is about Miss Zhao wanting to express her gratitude in a meaningful way. We're talking about an amount that could change your life, your daughter's life. Daniel thought about his checking account, about single dad math, about the stack of bills on the kitchen counter he'd been ignoring for 3 days because the numbers always came out wrong no matter how many times he calculated them. No, he said again. Tell Miss Zhao I hope she recovers quickly. Tell her I hope she made it home to her daughter. But I don't want anything. Michael studied him for a long moment. Then he reached into his jacket again and pulled out an envelope. She thought you might say that, he said, offering it to Daniel. So she asked me to give you this instead. Daniel took the envelope, plain white, unsealed. Inside was a handwritten letter on heavy cardstock. He read it while Michael waited in silence. Dear Daniel, Michael told me you would probably refuse any financial compensation. He knows me well enough to predict these things. So I'm writing this instead, hoping that words might succeed where money failed. When you found me in that car, I was convinced I was dying. Not because of the pain, though there was plenty of that, but because of what I was losing. The briefcase you risked your life to recover contained more than just company data. It contained 12 years of work. Every decision, every risk, every late night away from my daughter, all distilled into those encrypted files. But that's not what I was thinking about when I heard you calling to me. I was thinking about Emma, my 9-year-old daughter, who I promised I'd be home in time to help with her science fair project, who already spends too many evenings with nannies and tutors because her mother is always at the office or on a call or traveling for business. When you told me about your daughter's recital, when you said you understood about promises, I knew you were telling the truth. Because you didn't just save my life, Daniel. You gave me the chance to keep my promises. You gave me another morning to make breakfast for Emma. Another evening to hear about her day. Another night to tuck her in and tell her I love her. You gave me time. Michael tells me you're raising your daughter alone. I can't imagine how hard that must be. I have resources, support systems, a whole company backing me up, and I still struggle to balance work and motherhood. What you're doing, alone, with no safety net, that takes a different kind of courage than what you showed on that highway. So I won't insult you by offering money you don't want. But I will offer you this. If you ever need anything, and I mean anything for yourself or for Lily, please call me. The number is on the back of this card. It's my personal cell phone, not a company line. No assistants, no gatekeepers, just me. I mean it, Daniel. Day or night, if you need help, call. Some people go their entire lives without meeting a true hero. I'm grateful I met mine on what should have been my last day. With more gratitude than words can express, Evelyn Zhao. Daniel read the letter twice, then carefully folded it and put it back in the envelope. She's recovering well? He asked. She is, Michael said. She insisted on coming back to the office yesterday, despite doctor's orders. We've had to implement a reduced hours policy just for her. He smiled. She's stubborn. She has a company to run, Daniel said. She does. And thanks to you, she still can. Michael stood, straightening his suit jacket. I'll tell her you read the letter. If you change your mind about the compensation, I won't. Michael nodded, unsurprised. He pulled a business card from his wallet and set it on the coffee table next to Evelyn's letter. My number, he said, in case you need anything. And Daniel? For what it's worth, the world needs more people like you. After Michael left, Daniel stood in his living room for a long time, holding the envelope. From the kitchen, Lily appeared in her pajamas. Who was that man? Daddy. Someone saying thank you, Daniel said. For what? He looked down at his daughter, at her curious eyes and messy hair and the milk mustache she hadn't wiped away. For doing what anyone should do, he said. Help when someone needs it. Like when you helped that lady in the car? Yeah, baby. Like that. Lily hugged his waist. You're a good daddy. Daniel closed his eyes and hugged her back, the letter still clutched in his free hand. I try, he whispered. I try. That night, after Lily was asleep, Daniel sat at his kitchen table with a beer he couldn't really afford, and Evelyn Zhao's letter spread out in front of him. He'd tucked the business card Michael left behind in the junk drawer. But the letter, he didn't know what to do with the letter. It was too personal to throw away, too intimate to ignore, and the phone number on the back felt like a weight, a responsibility he hadn't asked for. If you ever need anything, Daniel thought about his checking account, about the stack of bills, about the way he'd been rationing groceries this week, doing the careful calculus of every meal to make the food stretch to Friday's paycheck, about how Lily deserved better than boxed mac and cheese 3 nights in a row. He could call. Right now, he could pick up his phone and dial that number. Explain his situation. Accept whatever help Evelyn wanted to offer. It wouldn't make him a bad person. It wouldn't diminish what he'd done. Would it? Daniel took a long drink of his beer. Then he stood up, walked to the refrigerator, and tucked Evelyn's letter behind Lily's latest crayon, drawing a lopsided house with 2 stick figures labeled Emmy and Daddy. He didn't throw the letter away, but he didn't call the number either. Not that night. Not the next week. Not the week after that. Winter settled over Sacramento with its usual restraint, cool mornings, crisp afternoons, the occasional rain shower that made everyone drive like they'd forgotten what water was. Daniel kept working. Kitchen repairs, cabinet installations, deck restorations, the endless small jobs that kept him employed but never quite comfortable. Marcus Chen threw him enough work to cover rent and utilities. Rhonda continued watching Lily after school for a price Daniel could barely afford but couldn't do without. The bills got paid, most of them. Eventually, Lily turned 8. Daniel made her a birthday cake from a box mix and invited 3 kids from her class to a party at their apartment. They played board games and ate pizza and watched a Disney movie, and Lily smiled so wide it hurt his heart. She never asked why they didn't do anything bigger. She never complained about the small apartment or the second-hand clothes or the fact that Daniel couldn't afford the summer music camp her piano teacher recommended. She just smiled and said thank you and hugged him goodnight. And Daniel lay awake after she was asleep, staring at the ceiling, doing the math that never came out right. In late January, his truck finally died. Not dramatically, no explosion or grinding halt, just a quiet failure one Thursday morning when he turned the key and got nothing but a clicking sound. Dead alternator, the mechanic said. $500 to fix, plus labor. Daniel sat in the driver's seat of his dead Ford, phone in hand, thumbs hovering over the number he'd memorized months ago but never called. If you ever need anything. He could feel Evelyn's letter in his wallet, tucked behind his driver's license. He'd been carrying it there for weeks, though he couldn't have said why. Daniel closed his eyes. Then he called Marcus instead. "Danny? What's up? Any chance you need someone for a big project? Week-long job. Something that pays advance." Silence on the line. Then, "Yeah, actually. Kitchen renovation in Roseville. Starts Monday. I was going to offer it to you anyway. $1,200 for the week, half up front." Daniel let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. "I'll take it." "You okay, man?" "Yeah," Daniel said. "Truck trouble. Nothing I can't handle. If you need..." "I'm good, Marcus, thanks." He fixed the truck with the advance money, worked the Roseville job, got paid, caught up on bills, stayed afloat, and he never called the number. Spring came. Lily's piano teacher said she was making remarkable progress. Natural talent, Mrs. Morrison told Daniel after one lesson. But more than that, discipline. She practices even when I don't assign it. That's rare in a child her age. She loves it, Daniel said. She loves making you proud, Mrs. Morrison corrected gently. That's different. Daniel thought about that on the drive home, Lily humming in the passenger seat, her sheet music organized neatly in her backpack. "Hey, Lil," he said, "you know you don't have to play piano, right? If you wanted to try something else, soccer or art or whatever, that's okay with me." She looked at him with those serious eyes. "Okay, just making sure. Daddy? Yeah? When I play piano, I'm not sad." "Are you sad when you do your work?" The question caught him off guard. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but not always." "Then piano is better than your work," Lily said matter-of-factly, "because it makes me happy all the time." Daniel reached over and squeezed her hand. "Then keep playing, baby." "I will." That night, after Lily was asleep, Daniel pulled Evelyn's letter from his wallet one more time. He read it in the kitchen under the flickering fluorescent light, tracing the careful handwriting with his eyes. "You gave me time," she'd written. Time. Such a simple thing. Such an impossible thing. Daniel had given Evelyn time with her daughter. And in return, she'd offered him. What? Security? Money? A way out of the endless calculations of single-dad math? But accepting it would mean admitting he'd saved her for the reward. And he hadn't. He'd saved her because saving people was what you did when you had the chance. Because 7 cars had driven past, and someone needed to stop. Daniel folded the letter, put it back in his wallet, and went to bed. 2 years after the accident, Tech Industries went public. The IPO made headlines' biggest tech offering of the year. Evelyn Zhao's personal net worth climbing past $5 billion. Business magazines called her a visionary. Tech blogs praised her leadership. Financial analysts predicted continued growth. At the Sacramento press conference, a reporter asked about the company's origin story. About the near-death experience that almost ended it all. Evelyn answered carefully. 2 years ago, I was in a serious car accident on Highway 50. If not for the quick actions of a good Samaritan, I wouldn't be standing here today. That experience taught me something valuable about what really matters in life and about the kind of person I want to be. Did you ever thank this person? The reporter asked. Evelyn smiled. A real smile, soft at the edges. I tried, but some heroes don't want recognition. They just want to get back to their lives. I respect that. Do you know their name? I do, Evelyn said. But I'm not going to share it. Some people deserve their privacy more than I deserve to tell their story. The reporter pressed, but Evelyn moved on to the next question. In a small apartment in Sacramento, Daniel Park was making dinner. He'd seen the news about Tech's IPO. Hard to miss it, the company had practically bought out every billboard in the city for the launch campaign. He recognized Evelyn's face in the photos. Older, more confident, but still the same woman who'd whispered, "Please don't die" on that rainy morning. He was glad she'd made it. Glad she'd had 2 more years with her daughter. That was enough. "Daddy, what's for dinner?" Lily called from her room, where she was practicing piano. Spaghetti, Daniel called back. The real kind, not the box. Can I finish this piece first? Sure, baby. Take your time. The music floated through the apartment. Mozart, maybe? Daniel wasn't sure. He'd never been good with classical composers, but he recognized the sound of his daughter finding joy, and that was better than any melody. His phone buzzed. Text from Marcus. Got a job for you next week? Good money? Easy work? You in? Daniel typed back. Always. Then he stirred the sauce, set the table for two, and waited for Lily to finish her song. Outside, Sacramento prepared for evening. Traffic hummed on nearby streets. Streetlights flickered on one by one. Somewhere in the city, someone was having the best day of their life. Somewhere else, someone was having the worst. And in a small apartment that smelled like garlic and tomato sauce, a single father was setting out plates for dinner. Content in the knowledge that his daughter was happy, safe, and learning to make beautiful music. That was enough. That had always been enough. Because some people don't need the world to know their name. They just need to know they did the right thing when it mattered. And Daniel Park Carpenter, single father, the man who stopped when everyone else kept driving, knew exactly what he'd done. He'd given someone time. The rest was just noise.